It's the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What a weekend in the NHL, and what a comeback by the Edmonton Oilers in Game 4 to tie the series at 2 apiece. Was that Jack Campbell in net for the Oilers? Let's get right to it.
You're Locked On Fantasy Hockey, your daily podcast on fantasy hockey. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome back to the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast. I am your host, Steele Roden, graduate of the College of Sports Media in downtown Toronto. Been a part of the Locked On Podcast Network now for about over a year and 3 months to the day, and very excited. I am flying solo for today's Monday's episode. Flip is across the pond. He's in Europe on a beautiful trip in Italy for the next 12 days. So he will be joining us throughout the next week or so, but he is in a beautiful part of the world right now. So all the best to him, and he's having a great trip so far, but lots to talk about that happened over the weekend. Saturday, Sunday night, incredible comeback win from the Edmonton Oilers in Game 4. Boston and Carolina taking a commanding lead in their respective series as well over the Florida Panthers and New York Islanders. The Dallas Stars able to tie it up again at 2 apiece in their series with the Minnesota Wild. Crazy Game 4 action, crazy Game 3 action in that series as well. And of course, we will dive into all 4 matchups for Monday night with big time bets. But we got to talk about our sponsors. This episode is also brought to you by Game Time. Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Game Time, such an incredible app that I look forward to using many times this summer in Vancouver. But lots to talk about over this weekend, especially Sunday night. Let's get to the first game of Sunday, though. The New York Islanders and the Carolina Hurricanes. Carolina at this point just absolutely dominating in the series, taking a commanding lead 3-1. With that being said, even though it is a commanding lead, I don't think the Hurricanes have necessarily outplayed the Islanders in this series. Yes, the matchup in the series, the record so far is in favor of the Carolina Hurricanes, but that doesn't show the work and what's been going on with the New York Islanders. To me, nothing special has been going on with Antti Raanta. He hasn't been tested enough by the New York Islanders, and that's something what I was mentioning a couple episodes ago, quantity over quality. They're looking for quality chances, and they're not putting enough pucks on net like the Carolina Hurricanes have done 3 out of the 4 games so far. In those 3 games, they ended up winning, putting a ton of pucks on net, creating those second rebound chances and bouncing on them and getting those opportunities, just something the New York Islanders haven't been able to do so far this series. And really in Game 4, they shot themselves in the foot, and they really did penalize themselves with how many penalties they took in this game, and very dumb and poor penalties as well. Just interferences, going after guys, trying to create a spark and get the fan base and the crowd into the game, but just putting yourself and your team at a disadvantage so many times throughout the game. And that's something the Hurricanes have done so well in this series, is taking advantage of the power play time, because they've got a bunch of players. Brent Burns on the point, quarterbacking. Martin Necas coming alive in Game 4 with an early goal in the first period. So honestly, just a very poor effort all around. Selfish penalties, very lackadaisical penalties, not full effort, and just overall poor chemistry. This team just doesn't look like they've played together at all this season. Since Matt Barzal has come back from that injury and, joining the team for the playoffs, him and Bo Horvat, it just looks like they don't know each other whatsoever. And yeah, I understand they just got acquired at the trade deadline, or he just got acquired at the trade deadline, and they only got 6 games under their hand. But both special players that should be able to play with one another, especially at this point in the season. So for me, just very poor chemistry for some of their top guys. Brock Nelson just hasn't looked the same, a guy who was close to 80 points this year. So for me, in Game 4, they shot themselves in the foot. They didn't give themselves the best chance to win this game. Ilya Sorokin is doing his best out there, but he's just getting peppered with so many shots game in and game out that it's been a struggle for him, even though he is trying to stand on his head. To me, I think the Islanders can still win this series. I think they can win it in 7 games. They were close on the road in both game 1 and game 2, and that's something they'll have to do again in game 5 on the road in Carolina. I think the Islanders can still pull this off, but it's going to be a tough job ahead if they're not able to get those quantity chances over the quality chances. But that's just me. A lot of people out there have the Carolina Hurricanes. I've been a fan of the Islanders all season long. Prediction to make the playoffs, and they've done a good enough job up to this point, but their superstar players, Bo Horvat, Matthew Barzal, even guys on the blue line, Noah Dobson, have to be extremely better in game 5, especially on the road. Next series, though, going back home to the Boston Bruins, TD Garden. They also have a commanding lead in that Eastern Conference. Both these series 3-1 in favor of the Bruins and the Carolina Hurricanes. But the Bruins are just doing what they've been doing all season long. They're taking over the game. It's comfortable. It's confident. It's at their pace. They're not letting their emotions get out of control like we're seeing in this Islanders team right now in their series. But they're just being so dominant, and they know they're sticking to their game plan and just taking it right to the Florida Panthers. They have a 3-1 series lead as well. And in game 4, really, it's the stars that came out to play. Taylor Hall, 4 points. Jake DeBrusk, 2 goals. The guys that the Bruins were able to acquire at the NHL trade deadline that I will be keeping my eye on, especially 2 out of 3 of these guys. They're able to get on the score sheet as well. Bertuzzi gets a goal. Orlov, Garnett, Hathaway, they're chipping in with a couple of assists, secondary or primary nonetheless. They're still chipping it away at this. Brad Marchand gets a goal as well. Just the stars coming out to play in a crucial game on the road to take control of this series and clutch it out at the end or back home in game 5. But to me, I was also very surprised by the coaching decision. Very surprised that Paul Maurice decided to go with Sergei Bobrovsky over Alex Lyon. Yeah, very poor start last game. But overall, he's been very solid, especially to get them into the playoffs. Down the stretch of the regular season, he was on fire to start game 1, game 2, and game 3, especially with not that much experience in the regular season and getting his first crack in the postseason. He's done a special job. So I was very surprised to see Paul Maurice go with Sergei Bobrovsky for game 4, especially in a crucial matchup at home when Alex Lyon has just played incredible and absolutely phenomenal for the Florida Panthers to even get a chance at this point in the postseason. Boston Bruins taking pure advantage over some of the poor play and emotional outcome from just everybody in the Panthers lineup. Tkachuk trying to go after Lyon. That would have been so funny and incredible to witness as well. Linus Ullmark and Matthew Tkachuk dropping the gloves up potentially almost in game 4. Just so many scrums, so many battles. And that's what you got to do in playoff hockey. That's why we watch, because it's so intense and it's amazing and so fun to watch every single game, even the teams that you don't normally root for. It's just fun to watch playoff hockey, and that's what the Bruins and Panthers have brought so far. But again, very surprised. I think Alex Lyon should be back in net for game 5 on the road. He deserves it. He's played the best, and Bobrovsky just hasn't been very reliable for the last year. So I think they should go with Alex Lyon moving forward in game 5. Boston Bruins, they can clutch it out. They have the chance at home. TD Garden. Can the stars come out again? And that's exactly what happened in the Oilers versus Kings game. We will get to that. We will get to big time bets. And of course, Minnesota versus the Dallas Stars and their future series as well. But this episode is also brought to you by Game Time. Game Time is one of the best apps out there right now. Have you ever really wanted to go to a game or a big event but couldn't find any last-minute tickets at a great price? Buying tickets to your favorite events shouldn't be stressful. It's supposed to be fun, and Game Time is exactly that. It's the fastest, easiest way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater shows near you, with killer deals on last-minute tickets and their best prices guaranteed. So you can stop stressing over the tickets and start getting hyped for all the fun. I know I'll be using a ton of the Game Time app this summer for Vancouver Whitecap games, BC Lion games, of course, next winter and fall when the Vancouver Canucks are up and at it again in the regular season. But when buying tickets so close to Game Time, the Game Time app has incredible prices and features like flash deals on last-minute tickets, images so you can see your seat views before you buy them. And the lowest price guarantee, event cancellation protection, job loss protection as well. The Game Time is amazing for spontaneous adventures. Forget planning months in advance. Game Time has deals on tickets right up to the day of the event. Get exclusive flash deals on all the events. Tickets are sent directly to your phone, so you never have to dig through your email. Snag the tickets without the stress with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Download the Game Time app today. Last-minute tickets.
Attention shoppers, we now have Taste in the Bread aisle with Dave's Killer Bread. I'm David Harrison of the Locked On Commanders podcast, and that's right, an organic bread that's no longer a sedative for your taste buds. Dave's Killer Bread is on a mission to make the most of the loaf, to rid the world of GMOs, high fructose corn syrup, and artificial ingredients, and plant the seeds of good in all that they bake. Killer taste, killer texture, always organic. Dave's Killer Bread, bread amplified.
The following message was written by ChatGPT.
Get the inside scoop on everything NHL playoffs with Locked On NHL. Join our expert hosts as they break down the latest news, games, and predictions. From the hottest players to the biggest upsets, we've got you covered. Don't miss a beat this postseason. Locked On NHL. Available on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Lowest price, always guaranteed. And thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. Make sure you go check out Ian McLaren of the Locked On Bruins and Armando Velez of Locked On Panthers, Florida. Again, they do a fantastic job breaking down the series in full, and you want to make sure you're prepared for Game 5, crucial game for the Florida Panthers if they don't want to go home packing and playing on the golf course early this playoff postseason. But again, we got so many more games to break down. What an absolute incredible matchup and comeback for both the Minnesota Wild and the Dallas Stars, as well as the Edmonton Oilers and LA Kings. Let's get to the Wild and Stars. We will get to the Oilers and Kings, a fantastic series. But Wild and Stars tied at 2 apiece again. Jake Oettinger stole the game. The kid is impressive. He is undeniably, at this point, one of the best goaltenders in the league. There are a lot of goaltenders that are really, really good. Shesterkin, Sorokin, Hellebuck, Vasilevsky, UC Saros. But at this point, Jake Oettinger has solidified himself at least in the top 10. Top 3 could be a debate at this point. But he stole the game in Game 4. He's so calm, so cool, so confident with his game. Didn't look scared one bit. Just made the stops look very easy. And he made some incredible saves, especially in the last 20 seconds on Marcus Johansson. Should have been in the back of the net, but it wasn't because Jake Oettinger was there to make the save. He's been incredible. You know, also Minnesota just wasn't great on the power play. Went 1 for 4 in Game 4, just not good. I don't want to blame the officiating, but the officiating was a problem in this game. Both Tyler Seguin's goals on the power play shouldn't have even happened, shouldn't have even been penalties in the first place. Both were brutal calls against Marcus Foligno, one for a charge or an interference when it was shoulder on shoulder behind the net, and he had the puck, and then another one against Mason Marchment where he got called for tripping when he was the one that got caught in the face with the high stick and was bleeding afterwards. 2 brutal calls that unfortunately both got scored on and executed properly by Tyler Seguin and the Dallas Stars. To me, it was just absolutely brutal calls, but what can you do? Tied at 2 apiece. We know Minnesota can win on the road in Dallas, so they got to move forward. They got to move forward for Game 5, but a lot of that goes to Jake Oettinger in the crease. Just absolutely incredible in Game 4 and in every single game so far this series. Gustafsson played great for Minnesota. First goal wasn't his fault. Just it pinballed off of 3 shin pads and squeaked through the pads. And, so far in this series from Minnesota's standpoint, been very impressed with the depth chart, getting depth scoring from guys like Ryan Hartman, Sam Steele, Marcus Johansson, John Klingberg, a couple of those guys that they acquired at the trade deadline. And they're making an impact right now. But at this point, tied in the series, going on the road, You need Kaprizov. You need Boldy to step up at this point. Kaprizov only has 1 goal, 1 point in the series. Boldy only 3 assists in the series, no goals. Both their superstars need to step up. It's great that they're getting depth scoring, but both those guys need to step up in a big way for Minnesota to take this first round series against the Dallas Stars. And it looks like the Oilers are keeping themselves in this series against the LA Kings. It looked like it was getting out of control there for 1 second, but what a comeback win for the Edmonton Oilers. 5-4 victory in overtime when they were down 3-0 after the first period. And playoff Leon Draisaitl, just absolutely incredible. I kept hearing a stat throughout the game, and I don't know if it was true. I haven't looked at this, but we're going to have to find out if this fact is true or if this statement is true. But apparently up until that Evander Kane game-tying goal in the third period, up until that point, Leon Draisaitl had been on the ice for every single one of the Edmonton Oilers goals in the postseason so far. He is incredible. 5 goals at this point, racking up the assists. He's taking over because Connor McDavid's being defended very, very well by the LA Kings. Just kept to the perimeter, not letting him get any space or speed through the neutral zone. Leon Draisaitl has to take over, and that's exactly what he's done. And again, was that Jack Campbell in net? Jack Campbell, former Toronto Maple Leaf goalie, been overstepped by Stuart Skinner through the regular season, overstepped to start the playoffs, and he comes in for Stuart Skinner in the second period and makes some crucial saves, especially in that first sequence, just swimming around in the blue paint, but even down the stretch, made some crucial saves to keep his team, in the game. And then even when they were tied, to keep them at tied going into overtime. And even at this point, Jack Campbell was great, came in, did a great job. Zach Hyman gets the game winner. He deserves it. He worked so hard game in and game out, but I got to show some love to the LA Kings and especially Jonas Korpisalo. He's been amazing so far this playoff experience. He's at a .915 save percentage or above game 1, game 2, and game 3. He let 5 goals in against in game 4, but he still made some tremendous saves, and he's been tremendous so far this series. Could have been easily 3-1 LA Kings series lead, but the Oilers able to stop them real quick, heading back to Edmonton for game 5. Incredible series so far. Every single one actually in the Western Conference, even the Seattle Kraken, Colorado Avalanche. I didn't know what to expect from that series, but the Seattle Kraken have given the Colorado Avalanche a run for their money. I understand they're missing Landeskog, now even missing Nichushkin for some personal reasons. He wasn't there for game 3. He might be a game time decision, might even be missing game 4 for the Colorado Avalanche. But nonetheless, that's been an incredible series so far. Just love playoff hockey. It's incredible to watch. The atmosphere, the fans. Even, I don't know if you saw, but Kyle Dubas, the GM of the Toronto Maple Leafs, he's getting into it with the Tampa Bay Lightning fans on the road. You love to see it. You love to see the GM and the front office getting passionate and hyped when their team wins and ties up the game and just giving it back to the fans. Obviously, don't cross a line. Keep it on the fair side, but you love to see it. I know I do. Big time bets, where the money is made. We're getting back to the grind here. Player props on the money line, everything you can from FanDuel, one of our favorite apps here in our sportsbook betting app here on the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast as well. Thank you so much again for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. Don't forget, we are free and available on your favorite podcast platform, including YouTube. Make sure you hit the subscribe, hit the follow button. Appreciate all the love, all the support. And let's get over to big time bets, where the money is made. We're coming out hot to start Monday, enjoying the weekend, a decent weekend, hit an anytime goal from Bo Horvat in that loss against the Carolina Hurricanes, but still made some money on it. So the player props are hidden right now. And that's what I'm looking for on Monday night and for the remainder of the postseason, especially when it gets down to the Eastern and Western Conference Finals. Nonetheless, though, let's get over to my first pick of the night. McKinnon had an absolutely incredible game in Game 3 against the Seattle Kraken on the road. Came to life. popping his first goal of the postseason as well. Got multiple goals actually in that game where the Colorado Avalanche were able to win 6-4 on the road, taking a 2-1 series lead. But Mikko Rantanen, Devin Taves, Cale Makar, all of their superstars were incredible. Nathan MacKinnon getting 2 goals, his first 2 goals of the postseason. I think he continues that. His speed, his edge work, the release, it's all just mashing right now. That's the first pick. MacKinnon, anytime goal, second pick of the night. I'm going over to that Tampa Bay Lightning, Toronto Maple Leaf, Game 4 action. It's been very, very crooked so far, every single game. 7-3 Tampa, 7-2 Leafs, 4-3 overtime victory with a game-tying goal in the last minute. And crazy intensity. But I'm going back to my boy over there, Mitch Marner, over 1.5 points in Game 4. He's got 2+ points in every single game so far. I think he even had a 4-point night or a 3-point night to start Game 1, 2 points Game 2, and 3 points Game 3. So he is popping off right now offensively for the Toronto Maple Leafs and has been absolutely insanely good for the Toronto Maple Leafs. So I'm going with Marner over 1.5 points with my second pick. Lock of the night, though. This one's fairly easy for me. I don't think they're going to lose at home again. They could have easily won in Game 3 against the New Jersey Devils, but I think they take a 3-1 series lead very easily, going and probably win it on the road in Game 5, if not back in Game 6 at Madison Square Garden. Rangers on the money line versus the New Jersey Devils. That's the lock of the night. We will get the updated odds to you out there an hour before game time. So make sure on our Twitter, LO_fantasy NHL, checking out the Twitter for the updated odds and our graphic of our big time bets. That is the lock of the night, though. Rangers on the money line. Those are the picks. Player props. Make sure you're checking them out and let us know how you're doing so far in the playoffs. Your NHL bracket challenge, how that's going so far. How's it looking? Your Stanley Cup Finals winner, and even some bets. If you're winning some money, let us know on the comments. DM us on Twitter. Hopefully we're helping you out there. And thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. Make sure you're tuning in for the rest of the week for the remainder of the playoff matchups. We're going to get some guests on here from other Locked On Fantasy Hockey channels, what they think of their series so far. We'll tease that up for tomorrow's episode as well. Thank you so much for tuning in for just myself today on the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast. Have a great day. Good luck with all your bets out there, and we shall see you back here again tomorrow. Peace.
Buying tickets to see your favorite NHL team shouldn't be stressful. That's where Game Time comes in. Game Time is the place for last-minute ticket deals. Forget planning months in advance. Game Time has deals on tickets right up to the day of the event. Get images of your seat before you buy so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. You can buy tickets in a matter of seconds, 2 taps, and you're set. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed.
Hey, Prime members, you can listen to this Locked On podcast ad-free on Amazon Music. Download the Amazon Music app today.